I want to do some rapid fire questions.
I think this is a question for the both of you.
Wait, no, I actually have an answer.
So you're saying in these conversations that we were having as you were growing up, you had that sense of feeling heard.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh.
My dad is bawling. That's cool. Oh, Dad.
Most adults forget that kids are truth tellers. And you also are lie detectors.
Mic drop. That was phenomenal.
It was such a huge hit when Oakley introduced me. So we thought it would be fun for each one of us to introduce somebody else. Okay? So I'm sitting here with my husband, Chris, of 26 years. He is our rock. He's our spiritual center. You're the foundation.
You're the core of the earth. We just revolve around you.
Yeah, clearly. Except Oakley's Pluto.
What the fuck? Let me introduce Mel Robbins. She is our tornado.
Oh.
Our whirlwind. Our fun
Our beautiful
seeker,
tornado.
And, of course, my wife. Thank you for bringing us all together.
So should we do a little round robin?
Yeah.
I can, like, everyone to the right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have here the middle devil child, Kendall Robbins. She is an amazing sister, an amazing singer, very dedicated, very beautiful. We love her. She is the comedian of the family. And yeah, let's give it up for Kendall Robbins. Oh, Kendall is, how old are you? Oh, she's 22 and 18 months younger than me. Thank God. And 2 grades below.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kendall. Thank you for that lovely intro, Sawyer. To my right, we have the golden child, mini Chris. He actually doesn't have his own personality quite yet. He's trying to steal everything from my dad. 17? Yeah. Okay, 17.
Born on St. Patty's Day.
Born on St. Patty's Day.
Little lucky bitch.
He is an amazing brother. He is the most mature, in touch, intelligent, just kind man I've ever met at his age. And I don't just say that because I'm biased, because trust me, I hated him for a very long time. However, we've crossed that bridge. But this is Oakley. He's 17. He's great. And he's going to introduce Sawyer.
Hi, guys. I'm Oakley. Kendall, thank you for that wonderful introduction. To my left, Sawyer Robbins, 23, right? 22?
23. I am, in fact, older than Kendall, as no one notices.
Anyway, she's 23. She's graduated from college, BC. No,
Her favorite color is blue.
her favorite color is blue.
Do you know what I do for a living?
I don't know if I should reveal like your personal information.
Dude,
That's totally fine.
So
My
Sawyer
social security number is.
Sawyer lives in South Boston. She's working at a cybersecurity company.
I'll take it from here.
Please do.
We're just going to pass the torch back. Sawyer is the most hardworking person next to my mom, I would say. She is... Dad, we love you.
So many people remarked about the openness that you guys have all displayed on various episodes of this podcast. And do you personally think that you have a very open relationship with me and Dad? Or how would you describe the type of relationship that you have with Dad and I? So why don't you go first?
To answer the question point blank, yes, definitely very open. I tell them almost everything. And that being said, I consider myself extremely open. I tell them anything from work to friend problems to boyfriend issues, etc. But I think that I am actually the least open when now looking to my two right, my siblings, simply because I think I choose what I share with them, and that is a lot, but not every single detail, which others can speak to.
Guilty.
Okay, now you're up.
Why do you share stuff with us?
I think that growing up, we always had a very open relationship, and I think one of the core things that you both instilled in all of us is you will never ever get in trouble for telling the truth. If we were telling you completely upfront and honestly what we were doing, where we were going, who we were going with, or in general, like what is going on in our lives, then regardless of what it was, we would never be punished for that. And I will always remember I had an incident with my first time drinking. I drank a whole handle of vodka, and I'm the oldest, so that was my first rodeo. And I woke up in the morning and I was petrified, puke all over myself, sleeping on the window bench. I thought I was just toast. Like, I thought I was dead meat. I was so scared. And then we all sat down in the screened-in porch, and they both said to me, "We will never punish you for something that we also did as kids. And as long as you are open and honest about..."
That pretty much opens the door wide
Oh,
open.
yeah, baby. I was running with gas after that. But after you guys said that, I just felt so much more at ease. And my punishment that day was actually going to a lacrosse tryout, which I yacked at several times. But then I looked at my other friends who would get in trouble and for drinking or for doing things we weren't allowed to, and they would immediately be grounded. They'd immediately have to stay home. They were restricted from alcohol. They were whatever. And that just kind of put a huge barrier between, I think, them and their parents, which was just, let's be sneaky, let's steal, let's sneak out, let's go to parties and lie about where we are. When I think from very early on, you both were very vocal about, as long as you are honest, you will not get in trouble. And I think that just eliminated the barrier between us completely.
I think a lot of parents say that. I think that is every parent's throwaway line. Hey, as long as you tell me the truth, you're not going to get in trouble. As long as you call me, you're not getting in trouble. And then in the tsunami of emotions, when you get the call that your kid is blacked out, or there's been a huge party, or the police showed up, or whatever else, most parents freak out and then ground or punish.
Mm-hmm.
No, I disagree. I disagree. For you to say that every parent out there just makes a blanket statement that says, just tell us the truth and you'll be fine. Like, no way. That therein lies, I think, one of the secrets, the keys to the kingdom, is inviting that truth telling, because most people don't.
Okay,
Right.
well,
I
that,
agree. I
agree.
actually don't think that any of my friends, I mean, I think that, like, it was unspoken in a lot of my friends' households growing up that, like, if you tell us the truth, you won't get in trouble. But, like, it wasn't actually, like, there was a difference between what they were saying and what they were doing in terms of the parents. Like, the parents want you to tell the truth, but they're still going to punish you. You guys want us to tell the truth, but you're not going to punish us. Like, you actually do what you say you're going to do as parents.
But did you, Mel? Is that what your parents told you? Because I didn't.
yeah.
See, I didn't get that from my parents. I just got the idea that the message to me was, it takes a long time to build trust, and it takes 2 seconds to shatter the trust, which is sort of infers that tell the truth and you're not going to blow up relationships or leave people feeling, sort of lost inside of the dynamic between the two of you.
Like, my number one goal as your parent in our relationship building was to get you to want to come and talk to me and Dad about important topics instead of going to your dipshit friends. And, I always thought, if you're 13, 14, 15, or 16, way better to talk through something you're thinking about or worried about or, wanting to try and all that stuff with adults who will listen to you than going to other 14, 15, or 16-year-olds that don't know what the hell they're doing.
I agree with that. And this was like sort of going to be my whole point about like why I also have such an open relationship with my parents, arguably too open. But
Definitely too open.
yeah, don't take notes from me. I turned out fine, sort of. But
TBD.
what I was going to say is you were just saying like it's so much better for kids at that age to like go to their parents who will listen to them rather than their dipshit friends. But like that's the issue, is that parents don't listen. And what I was going to say, my whole point is that there's a difference between like, I think that like my definition of listen as like you guys have defined what listen means to me. And it's like internalizing what we're saying. Like parents all around the world can just listen to their kid be like, I really want to go to this party tonight, like blah, 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 blah. Or like, can I please, like whatever it may be. Oh, I got too drunk at this party, or, oh, I slept with someone before I was ready. Like there's a difference between hearing what they're saying and actually listening and internalizing how it's making them feel. Like I feel like every time we told you guys something as kids, you would actually like empathize with us and hear us and internalize it. And in doing that, you were able to like loosen the reins a little bit and let us fuck up and let us fail and let us, and instead of being like, you're stupid, you're being punished, that was dumb, you were like, let's talk about it. How is it making you feel?
So
blah,
you're
blah, blah.
saying in these conversations that we were having as you were growing up, you had that sense of feeling heard
Yes.
inside
Yes.
of.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh.
My dad is bawling.
That's cool.
Oh, Dad. I hate when you cry. I really wasn't planning on this.
But no, totally.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like most kids don't talk to their parents because their parents don't hear them and don't listen to them. So why would they?
I think a lot of my friends, for example, whenever they would want to go on a trip or go to a party or do anything they want to do, and they already knew in the back of their head that their parents didn't want them to or were going to say no, they go into the conversation to talk about that and express how they're feeling. And as a kid, I think we all come from the exact same scenario where we want to explain why we want to go to this thing or go to this trip or why we should be able to do this, etc. But on the other end, the parents, like Kendall said, may be listening, but they already have an answer in the back of their head. Their mind is made up. There's no room for conversation or changing. I think that when kids go into conversations with parents who immediately make up their mind, do not allow for any sort of alterations or changes to the plan, then you're just set up for failure, because then it just turns into sneakiness and hatred and all that stuff. Yeah, resentment. And so I don't know. I think that I'm looking for a word, but I think this is also a little bit of, I think parents and children should not obviously be equal. Like parents need to have a little bit of authority over children, but I think what I really appreciated most, and a lot, yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay. And but I think that like at the end of the day, like I always felt as a child like you're equal. And I always felt like you guys.
What does that mean? Because I don't think Dad and I ever bought into the parenting philosophy of being your friends. What Dad and I, at least if I had to summarize the way that we think about parenting, is I think about parenting as though our job is to help you figure out who you are. Mm-hmm. And that means learning how to think through decisions, learning how to come to terms with your own values, learning the weight of the consequences of decisions, and that the whole point of parenting is for you to grow up and leave and go find somebody that you love as much as Dad and I love one another, and go build a family, and to become more of who you are. And so we were always focused on connection first, correction dead last.
I feel like I'm so open because you guys were so open with me. Like, I feel like I could go to you guys, I could ask you guys something about your life, and you'd tell me. There was nothing that you really hid from me. Maybe there was, or maybe I was just so young that I didn't really ask. But you were very open, which was super nice. And I also felt like you guys had my back like 100% of the time, no matter what. For example, I went to camp for a month and I got bullied. And so my mom found out about it and she like refused to let me stay there. So she took me out a week early, which felt really nice because it showed that she cared about how I was feeling and she understood that and she acted upon it, which was really helpful for me. And it showed that she has my back. And she continued to show me that throughout the rest of my life.
Seeking connection with you guys required us to learn how to listen. It required us to learn how to hear your points of view, even though they were often stupid or immature or dangerous or irrational or emotional or irritating, but still to respect you enough to listen. And oftentimes your ideas were great and we would listen and acquiesce. But I think you also had a sense of safety because we always had guardrails. There's nothing you're going to do that's dangerous. There's nothing we're going to allow you to do that is self-destructive or destructive to other people. There is nothing that we're going to ever allow you to do that could be a situation that is deadly or discriminatory against people. And so there were guardrails, and there are guardrails that we're very, very intense about.
But I think that your guardrails are like around morals and like who we are as human beings,
Yes.
not behavioral.
Can you give an
things.
example?
Like, be a kind person, hold the door for people, say thank you, ask the waiter's name. Like those kinds of things are like unspoken guardrails, whereas I feel like other parents put up guardrails that are like no drinking on the weekends. Like you never put up guardrails that were like activities or experiences or things we do. It's how we are within those experiences are where the guardrails are.
What do most parents get wrong? Like what are some don'ts that you've seen either Dad and I do or other parents do?
Let your kids figure it out themselves.
Yes.
Let their like
Never with drinking and driving.
well yeah.
Obviously.
Honestly, if somebody's like gateway drugging their way into heroin or cocaine or becoming an alcoholic at a young age, like I can bet you that there is a massive lack of love and appreciation and being heard and being seen in their household, and it's probably coming from their parents. Hate to call you guys out, but it's probably coming from their
definitely is.
parents.
It definitely
And you know
is.
what? Instead of the like, yeah, you find out that they're doing cocaine, that's terrifying. I can't even imagine what that's like as a parent. But instead of seeing that and having some rash, crazy reaction about like, we're throwing all this out, we're putting you into this, we're putting you into therapy, blah, 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 blah. What I think would be more impactful is like sitting their kid down and being like, can we have it like, here's a punishment. You're not leaving this table until we actually talk this through, because there's got to be a lot more deep-seated issues than just this bag of white powder. Like, I think that the issue is that like parents are just so quick to be like, they're so afraid of it becoming a bigger issue that they just Band-Aid on a bullet wound and just like put them into when like the real issue is the deep-seated hurt that the kid is feeling and the love that they're not getting.
But I also want to add though that like for a lot of people, the parents sitting down to have that conversation, if the parent is not the actual person to talk to, then a licensed therapist is. And so it's not searching the house to get rid of all the coke and the weed to make sure they don't have any, because I can assure you we're smart. We can find it like anywhere.
This is a question from Avery.
Hi, Avery.
Okay.
Oakley, you're young.
Okay. I'm listening to the episode where Mel talks about her daughter's love life dilemma with Kendall. And I have immediate request for an episode. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I want her to feel comfortable talking to me about these kinds of issues when she's in college. So here's the pitch. How do you raise kids who share information about their lives with you? Can you give people a tool that you could use? Like, is there a takeaway?
I think that the tool that you can use is a warm and excited and interested invitation to asking your kids about their life and showing genuine interest in their life. And I think that in that interest, it like makes your kids want to tell you more in an authentic way.
But I also want to say that I think continuing to ask and continuing to be interested, continuing to be welcoming is very important. But if they are not like receptive, don't take that as just never asking again. I think continue to ask, continue to be interested, but there are times in life when they will not want to tell you, and you need to be respectful of that. And I think it's when parents often overstep and won't stop asking and have to know that.
So that's a great point, is that a parent can comfortably be okay with not hearing anything in response.
Yes.
Just keep asking.
That silence does not need to be misinterpreted as deafening and that there's something wrong, but just that.
Because asking lets them know we're here, we want to listen, we love you.
I have a question from Indre, who has a 3.5-year-old, and she's worried that she's going to screw up her kids by saying something or doing something wrong. And she wants to know, how do you not do that? And I just want to take a stab at this, because I think one of the things that Dad and I have done well is we have screwed up. We have said things wrong, and we are not perfect, but we're really fast and good at apologizing and taking responsibility for the things that we do wrong, or the things that we realize we regret in hindsight, or for doing things that may have hurt your feelings. I think that that's like, if you realize you're just a good person and you're doing the best that you can with whatever you got in terms of your own issues, and you're quick to take responsibility for them, I think it does show that you're open and that you're human and that you're trying. And I don't know.
I agree. Dad, do you have
Next
anything
question.
to say about that?
Yeah, I think that there's, I mean, transparency is big, and sort of leading by your own example and us being willing to share what's so about us, I think it's a good example that can only help in maybe a child wanting to do the same back towards their own parents. But it is fascinating to, even in this conversation, to be hearing about like things that we might think we did well or didn't do well, and you having a completely different interpretation about that.
Yeah.
Because you're naturally at a different age and have a different perspective. And anyway, it sort of makes me think this is all well and good, and ages and differentiation, like that's things are going to get misinterpreted along the way.
Yeah. Another big thing, Indre, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, beautiful name, by the way, is honest communication. Like, as parents, be in honest communication with each other, and with your kids, be in honest communication. Like,
What does that mean?
Telling them what's going on, telling them about your day, making sure, like, I feel like you guys were so open and honest in your communication with us, and you would always tell us what was going on or why something was happening, or if we asked a question, you would always tell us. And I think that watching you two be honest with one another, like, inspires us to want to be honest with you. And another thing too, like, under the umbrella of honest communication is, like, I have so many vivid memories of, like, growing up as a family, like, sitting around the fireplace or sitting at dinner or gathering. Like, you guys made such a conscious effort, whether you know it or not, to gather us as a family and to just talk about literally whatever it may be, with fireplace, wood, evergreens, mint, food, our love lives, whatever. Like, you made such a conscious effort to, like, gather us together and get us all talking and communicating with one another, that, like, there were so many times when I was like, I don't want to fucking talk to you guys for 40 minutes at the end of dinner. I want to go play Polly Pockets upstairs and chew on their clothes. But
Me and Kendall, yeah.
But now that I'm at my age, it's like, those are the memories that I cherish the most, and those are the moments that I look forward to the most, which are, like, the rabbit hole conversations we get down, because I think as kids, I'm trying to stay on track with the question, but like making a conscious effort to like talk to your kid and like making it like a ritualistic thing where like you talk to them after dinner or you're talking to them in the car, and like whether they like it or not, or whether they're showing they don't like it at that point, and maybe they won't, but like I think that they'll really appreciate that in the long run, because I know we all did.
I think though, like under the umbrella of honest communication, I think a massive part of that is vulnerability. Because I think watching my mom and dad grow up, like literally I've seen my dad and my mom cry and break down and not be strong and tell us what's going on in their life, how traumatic it is, how sad, how frustrating, how simple it may be, and absolutely like be on the ground sobbing, which I think for a kid is a little bit jarring at first to witness like your most idolized person as your parent be weak. But I think that watching our parents sit at the dinner table and bawl their eyes out because work didn't go well that day, or because they had a hard conversation with a friend, and being completely open and honest about it just essentially made that possible for all of us to do the same.
That's really big. I think when you guys talk about honest communication, most adults forget that kids are truth tellers. And you also are lie detectors. And so when you say honest communication, what you're saying is you trusted us because what we were saying matched your felt experience.
in your actions.
In our actions. And I also think we tried very much to make sure that if either one of us were truly upset or frustrated or disappointed or sad, that you knew that it wasn't about you, that it was something going on in our lives, that you were not to blame for negative emotions that we were feeling. Is that true?
Yes, you were very outspoken about that. When like you would be in a bad mood or something, you would make sure, like even like the first thing you would say, I feel like when you would come in the room, is this is not about you, like this has to do with something else, and then you would continue to be a bitch, but it's fine.
We did do all right if the firstborn is actually saying that stuff. Normally it would just be the thirdborn that would pick up on that.
I love you guys.
I love you too. All right, here's another one. Now let's go to older kids, because I think most people are now like, because so far the takeaway for me is seek connection. Because people are going to want to know the how. Like we're talking conceptually.
No, seek connection over correction is so big. So big. You will correct your kids through connecting with them.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And
I'm not a parent, but
Be vulnerable.
if you want your kids to be open with you, you have to model being open with them. And that doesn't mean sharing inappropriate things, because I don't think you guys should have access to or know like the details about our marriage. Like that's for Dad and I.
Thank God.
And so I feel like you have to model openness. You have to talk about what's going on in your life. You have to talk about your feelings. You've got to show your feelings.
I think that you guys showing that like at times you are weak shows that you're human, and like makes, I don't know, like it gives us more space to do that too. 'Cause like okay, I'm going to stutter for a second until I get to what I'm saying, but like in being weak, in crying in front of us, like I think so many parents are so just try to look so strong and perfect in front of their kids all the time, but it's like by showing your kids that like you guys are also human, like allows your kids to feel those things too as they start to grow up.
I also think, like, I know so many of my friends till this day as a 23-year-old, a lot of them have been like, I've never seen my parents cry ever. And I think, and not saying that you need to walk downstairs and bawl your eyes out every goddamn day, but like, I just think that not showing your true emotion to your kids is sad and not real life, honestly.
Yes.
And I think that hiding that away from your kids and putting on a smile every single day makes a kid feel like they can't have a bad day.
I also think that a lot of parents think they got to keep the stiff upper lip and they got to stay strong, and they got to like be the one in charge, because that's going to make the kids feel safe. And I actually think when you see your parents being human, it makes you know that you can count on them to be honest with you, and that you can count on them to tell you,
Totally.
yeah, what's going on.
It's like honest feeling and communication. Like,
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next question. But takeaway, don't be a dictator. Just be vulnerable.
Yeah, connection over correction. Let's go to Christy. Her daughters are teenagers, and they've stopped connecting with me the way they used to, and they're often behind closed doors or staring at their phone. And I'm envious of the connection that you have with your daughters in particular. How can I get my teenage daughters to open up to me?
Okay, I think first and foremost, Christy, there's going to be days when they're going to want to be locked up in their rooms on their phone, and you're just going to have to keep a smiling face on, keep going, like, know that it's not personal at all. They're just in that moment of, there's definitely a moment, there's a long ass moment in all of our lives, especially as teenage girls, that like your friends are more important than your family. Like, that's just how it goes in your development. That's just how it happens. Sawyer and I have both felt that simultaneously. But I think like something that I wouldn't say my mom and my dad didn't do, but I wish they would have done more of, is like had more fun with us in those ages. Like, made experience happen between me, Sawyer, and my mom that like both Sawyer and I would have so much fun doing, like going to paint pottery together and then going to CPK because their food fucking slaps, or like, you know what I mean? Like going to the mall and going shopping, or like, girls, today we're going to go to the pumpkin patch. And if you want to bring your friends, bring your friends. Like I think like showing that you care about your daughters and their friends, but also making time for the three of you to have fun together. Like those memories will just be like so crystallized in their minds, I think.
Yeah, I didn't do that enough.
I completely agree with Kendall. I also can say, like, I think that as a teenage girl, I was angry and angsty, and I literally sat up in my room as soon as I got home from sports and did my homework, went to bed, and then went to school. And on the weekends, there was no time for family. It was just friends. And I think that, like Kendall said, is honestly a phase in life. And I think as they grow older, I can assure you that family does become more important, especially in college when you move away and you realize that, oh my gosh, I'm not living with them all the time. I get to go see them, and that day will come. And I think that instead of just waiting for that day to come, I completely agree with Kendall in creating experiences that you know your kids will enjoy, especially your daughters, creating experiences that involve their hobbies, their interests. If they like horseback riding, take them to a horseback riding show. If they like shopping, take them on a shopping trip to New York City. Something like that. Like,
and including their friends in those plans. I think you did a really good job of like, I know I hosted a lot more than Sawyer did at our house, but like both of you were so great about like, you want to be around me, but if that means that I'm not going to be present with you, but I'll be outside with my friends, so be it. Like, you were so good about that. And I think that's a huge thing for parents. Like, if they want to be with their friends, like, and you want to be with them, like letting your kids know that like your house, and I know that not everyone's homes can accommodate like lots of friends and stuff, but if you have a space where you can invite your kids to be with their friends, like that's huge. And they will keep bringing their friends back like I did.
Here's a question from Ufe. As a mom of 2 grown daughters and a son who's still at home, I feel very regretful. I wish I could have done things differently. And now I'm seeing my screw-ups play out in their lives, and it overwhelms me and brings me to my knees. And yes, I tell myself you did the best you could with what you knew, but that only gets me so far, because I know in my gut I could have been doing things way differently. And yet I kept repeating the same things because I was stuck in patterns. How, as parents, can we find peace now that our eyes are wide open about the mistakes that we made, and actually start building a bridge back to our kids again?
I think this is a question for the both of you.
Wait, no, I actually have an answer. I was going to say
You put your mic.
I was going to say tell them.
Yes.
Tell your kids how you're feeling. It's never too late to like build a beautiful relationship with them. I know that like we're very lucky. I'm very lucky to be a part of the Robbins family, but like I don't think that like everybody on this podcast, everybody that's been requesting and sending in questions for my mom, like tell your kids you're feeling this way. That is the most important thing you can do. Like it makes them feel so much more seen when you just tell them, like, imagine how it would feel if you just told your kid, I want to connect with you and I feel like I fucked up a little bit in the past.
It's incredible. And I often think that the most profound advice is right in front of our face. And it's true. Like, instead of talking to your girlfriends or your spouse, go straight to your adult kids and say, like, I really regret that I didn't do more with your friends. I regret that I was not around as much as I would have liked to have been. I regret that we were struggling so badly financially that I couldn't afford to do those things. And so it does make me sad, but it's one of the reasons why I'm like, oh, note to self. Instead of trying to drag your kids closer to you, if you want to be close to your kids, go to them. Go to them where you said hobbies, Sawyer. Like, don't make them do the shit that you like to do. Go do with your kids what they like to do. Even if you don't like their friends, invite their friends to be with you, because then your child is going to want to hang with you.
I think also going off that, the perfect example that I can think of is like Oakley is really into video games and used to be a gamer. Well, he is a gamer, but like
used to be a big gamer.
Used to be a big gamer, and obviously my dad is not. He doesn't play video games, but he brought him to a video game conference, and they had an amazing time and bonded. And I think that was so special because I'm very aware that my dad is not sitting with Oakley playing video games for 8 hours every day, but the fact that he can like take you to a conference and bond with you that way, even though video games is not his top of mind interest, is the perfect example with diving into your kids' lives, even into something that makes you feel uncomfortable or just know nothing about. And so you got choked up.
I would just like to say that I do not play video games for 8 hours a day.
Jesus Christ.
I have an image to uphold. But yes, no, that was honestly a really cool experience, because I don't even remember like asking Dad to do that with me. Because like I remember Dad just coming up to me one day and being like, hey, there's this thing happening involving video games. What was
I think it's called like anime.
No, it's called, I think it's called, what was it called? PAX East? I think it was called PAX East. My dad was like, there's this thing like involving video games. You want to go? And I was like, yeah, like I want to go with you. Like that'll be so much fun. And so I remember we just like we walked around and we like looked at all these booths and we like played games together, and like it was a really cool and like fun experience. And I definitely will always remember that. And it was like, it was really cool seeing him take interest in my life. Like that like felt nice, because it also made me feel like what I was doing was like okay. Like there wasn't something wrong with what I enjoyed, because like he was willing to be like, well, let's go do something about that, which felt really nice at the time.
Do you think a lot of parents make the mistake of forcing their kids to do things that they like instead of letting their kids be themselves?
Yes. I think a lot of parents, sports is a big one. I mean, I think sports is I'm not a parent, so I can't really speak on this, but like, I think it's like, there are a lot of life lessons and values in making your kids play sports, but like, our parents made Oakley play literally played every single sport under the sun, from gymnastics to diving to soccer to lacrosse. And like, he would play every single sport for half a season. He hated every single one of them. And my parents would pull him out and be like, what do you want to try next? And he would tell them. And I mean, you can speak on this more because this was your experience, but I think a lot of parents, like, what I was going to say in general is like, I think what you guys have mastered is like, you brought us into the world not so you could live through us, but so we could be our own people. And you have mastered the art of like teetering between letting us be our own person and not being a fuck up. And I think a lot of parents bring their kids into the world so they can live through them. And in doing that, make them play soccer until their bones are aching. Make them get straight A's because that's what they wish they would do. Make them do this, make them do that, until like they don't even know who the fuck they are by the time they're 22. And obviously they're not connected to their parents then. They don't know who they are. But you guys, and what I think a lot of you guys listening to this podcast, what I would advise you to do is like figure out how it feels for you and what it looks like for you to bring somebody into the world so they can be their own person, not so you can make them be somebody that you wish you might have been.
Mic drop. That was phenomenal.
Boom.
Yeah, that basically was it. I want to do some rapid fire questions.
Go.
Okay. 18-year-old college freshman hates where she is. She has a long-term boyfriend who went to another college 2 hours away. A month before she left for college, she wanted to switch to the college her boyfriend was attending without even touring it. What do we do? Because she loved college before she went, and then, as mom says, shit got real at orientation, and now she wants to leave because she, quote, doesn't like college and hasn't met friends. What do you say to your kid who does not like freshman fall of college?
All right, let me just tell you something. This is the story of my life. This is exactly what happened to me. Word for word, I went to Boston College. I had a boyfriend at the time who went to University of Michigan. I was obsessed with it. I was so excited to go. I was proud to be an Eagle. I showed up and immediately didn't see the rah-rah fraternities, sororities. I didn't have a massive friend group. I had one friend who I met at orientation, and literally for the entire year, she was my only friend. I was miserable. I sat in my room every single day, bawling my eyes out, begging my parents to come pick me up or Uber me 20 minutes home because I didn't want to be there. I attempted to join a bunch of clubs to try to meet people, and I tried to take all the steps in which I thought would be the best way to meet people, etc., make friends, and I didn't connect with literally anyone. And so what my advice is, another part of that is I can completely relate to the high school boyfriend who is at another college. All you want to do is be with them. You just came off an amazing senior summer, etc. I'm sure you have heard this story, but my advice to you is she has to stay for a year. I really believe this because my entire Boston College experience for my entire freshman year was horrible. And I do have to put that out there. But I went back because I didn't know where I wanted to transfer, although I wanted to transfer. And I had the best year of my entire life, my sophomore year. And I literally think that was solely because my parents forced me to stay. They said, you need to stick it through. And I honestly grew as a person so much that entire year because I was in pain, uncomfortable, trying to meet new people, all of which brought me to the best people in the world at Boston College.
Well, it also brought you to the best version of you. See, this is an example of guardrails. If you always allow your kid to bounce from a situation that makes them uncomfortable, their anxiety increases. And here's what you can do in that situation. You can say, I hear you. That is hard. And we're paying for the tuition. So you need to stick out the year. And if you are that miserable, here's what you could do. You can transfer. And so put all that energy into applications and figuring out where you want to go. And so you acknowledge what your child is feeling. You validate their experience so that they feel seen and heard. And then you help them come up with solutions. And, you know, one of the things that I always say to you guys, even though I know that you guys make fun of me, is, do you want me to listen? Do you want to hear my advice? What do you need? And then 9 times out of 10, you guys do not want advice. You just want me to listen. And then you end up going, so should I? What do I want to do? I have another question because I think that was excellent advice. Do not rescue them. Do not let them bounce because they're nervous. Make them stick it out. And then help them think of solutions, both for sticking it out and also for changing the situation if that's what they want. In fact, your cousin is going through this right now.
Yeah.
So another one.
Wait, one more thing though also is you always said when I was complaining that I had no friends freshman year, in terms of the solutions, for an example of a solution is my mom always used to say, well, why don't you just go knock on someone's door? Or why don't you Instagram DM someone to get lunch? And at first I always said, no, that's so weird. I'm not going to do that. Like, I have no friends, etc. But then I started to get desperate and I started taking her advice and it actually worked.
Final question. We do not like the person that our 18-year-old is dating. On a couple of occasions, they have been rude to my husband. And ever since seeing them, she doesn't talk to us like she used to. I don't trust this person. I don't think they're a good fit for my child. What do I do?
Okay. Well, Sawyer, I'm going to let you meditate on this one while I take the wheel right now.
What do you not do?
What you should not do is make your daughter or your son or your child feel as though they cannot bring the significant other over, because I think as somebody that was in a relationship that was very healthy and loving in high school, I watched my sister in a relationship that I know she was happy in for a while, but I think towards the end, whatever, it ended for a reason. But I think one of the I watched her shut down whenever we would talk about how we felt like they weren't a good fit, or we felt like maybe she wasn't herself around him. And I think that the more and more you talk about how you don't like the significant other, the more and more your daughter's going to pull away. She's at a phase in her life. She's with this person for a reason. If it's not love, it's a lesson. She's going to learn something from it. As long as she is safe and there's no abuse going on, telling her that she can't be with him, telling her all this stuff, like, it's only going to push her further away from you. And I think that, like, again, honest and open communication, talk to her, tell her, we love you, but we feel like you're not yourself around this person. Is there a reason why? Is there anything we can do? Et cetera, et cetera. Dad, go for it.
Did you hear that from us, Sawyer?
I heard.
Because I think we said that. The question is whether you heard us say that.
So the thing is when I was in this position and you were very open and honest, made it very clear that he is more than welcome over. You guys really enjoy him, all this stuff. And I think what I heard when you would say things along the lines of, I don't think this relationship is necessarily great for you anymore. You are not yourself around him, which I think is our biggest takeaway. And they always phrase the conversation less about him and more about how I was and who I want to be and who I'm meant to be. And he was not making that possible for whatever reason. And I think that by my parents always framing the conversation and putting it back on me rather than blaming it all on my current boyfriend at the time, it did obviously make me pull away at a bit in the moment, but I think those conversations about how they were feeling and while them putting it all on me eventually made me feel they always stayed in my mind. I wasn't actively listening, but in the back of my mind, whenever I was with him after those conversations, in the back of my mind, I would be questioning, is this right? Is this not right? I really love him. I want to be with him. He makes me feel comfortable, etc. But then in the back of my mind, I would consider, yes, but who am I? And I think that by framing the conversation towards your daughter rather than putting all the blame on the boyfriend, I think that obviously might not make her immediately end things, but at the same time, it will stick with her forever. I can assure you that.
Yeah, I think that's a good insight. So I got two things from that. Number one, again, let's go back to one of the huge takeaways. Do not drag your kids to you, go to them. So being super welcoming, even if you don't like the person. I realize the rudeness is a hard thing to deal with if that's the situation. If they're not in a dangerous situation, I think the more you can make them feel welcome at your place, do things with them, take them out to dinner, the more you got eyes on them, the more you have a better handle on the situation. The second thing, and And they're never going to want to hang out with you if you're super judgy. And I thought that Dad and I, because I actually really liked who we were talking about, I just didn't like who you were in it because you changed. And I think that's, you want to talk too?
No, I feel like that happened to me as well.
Go say something.
I don't know. I think I was in a relationship for about 1.5 years, and it was a great relationship. It was very healthy. But I would say that I was not myself around my family. There was a lot of I don't know if sneakiness is the right word, but I wanted to, my biggest goal in that relationship was like to make sure that she was comfortable and she was happy, and she would tend to become like uncomfortable in certain situations. Most of those situations involved being around my family, so whenever she'd come over, I would basically like hide her away in my room because I didn't want her to feel uncomfortable, and I was going out of my way to make sure she was comfortable. And I remember I had so many conversations with you guys about how I was like different, and like there was nothing wrong, but you just wanted to hang out with us more, and you felt like you still didn't really know her. And I think throughout the whole entire relationship, like those thoughts never left my mind. Like Sawyer was saying, like they were always in the back.
I was gonna say thank you for sharing snaps for Oakley.
Thank you. Thank you.
What I was gonna say is I think like I said before, as somebody that was in the opposite of that kind of relationship, me and my high school boyfriend didn't leave my parents alone, but I would witness you guys always having conversations with Sawyer, and I witnessed some of the conversations you had with Oakley, just like about the significant other and about how these two were being in that relationship. And I think like back to the whole honest communication thing, like you would always have these conversations, non-judgmental conversations with both of my siblings, to the point where it did, like, you were open and honest about how you felt and how you were noticing their behavior change, but like it was never judgmental. It was never like, you need to break up with him, you need to do this, to the point where like I think it almost made them feel more comfortable talking to you about it, because like then when Sawyer would have issues with this guy, or Oakley would have issues with his girlfriend, like they would still come and talk to you, because they know that you wouldn't be like, well, now's your time to break up with them, you have to break up with them. You would just be like, okay, how are you feeling? Like, do you know what I mean?
I don't get the sense we were like that with Sawyer.
You were like that with me.
Wait, I feel like you were. Whenever
I
she
don't know.
had
It's,
issues,
it's
like,
Sawyer's experience.
No, I agree. I think that and obviously, once again, I'm the oldest child, so I was the first rodeo, but I think that what happened was, at first, it was very, oh, well, I don't think you guys should be together. Like, I think you should break up. Overpowering. And then I think they sensed that I was pulling away, and then all of a sudden they made a flip, and it was constantly like, oh, well, what are you and so up to tonight? Like, you guys are more than welcome to come back over and hang out here. Like, we'd love to see him, we'd love to see you, we can cook you dinner. And I think that unfortunately I had already seen the first side of things, so I was already self-conscious about how they felt, etc. And like Oakley, hid him away in my room every time we hung out. But I did really appreciate the shift in communication and understanding of where I was coming from.
You did that? You created a little like hideout for her boyfriend?
No, not for
No.
Sawyer's way. She was saying like in relation to
we hid in the
mine.
room while they were together.
All right, one final one, and I think this is important given the rise of mental health issues
Okay.
right now in middle schoolers. We're not sure.
High schoolers and everyone.
We're not sure why, but our 12-year-old daughter is being excluded from her friend group. I often hear her crying in a room, but when I talk to her about it, she won't tell me anything. What do I do?
That's a hard one.
You could try relating to her, like telling her, like opening up to her first, and then seeing if she'll respond like that. Because I feel like everybody has a situation in their middle school or high school days where like something shitty happens in a friend group, and I feel like if you go to her and you're like, look, I noticed that like something's going on in your friend group, like when I was so and so age, like this happened to me, and it may make her feel more inclined to say something.
I think another thing too is when you do broach the conversation, like even if she's like very quick to not say anything back to you, like make it very clear that like you're just there to listen and you just want to be there for her and that you're not going to do anything. Because I think a lot of middle schoolers are petrified that if I tell my mom that I'm getting bullied, she's going to go and yell at all the bullies, and then I'm going to get bullied triple the amount of times I'm already getting bullied. So like make it clear to her, like, I will not be telling your teachers, scolding anybody. Like, I am your teammate, and whatever you need me to be, I will be for you, but please just let me be there for you.
I think that last part's genius.
Don't
promise you're not going to do anything.
Promise you're not going to do anything about it. Just promise you're going to listen.
If you could tell parents listening, 1, 2, 3, just any behavior change specifically that they could adopt today that would help them create a better relationship with their kids, what are something that you could do specifically that would really help?
One thing, stop grounding your kids. I can assure you it does nothing but make them want to retreat and do the complete opposite of what you're telling them not to do.
What should they do instead?
Honestly, like, have the conversation and explain why it upset you and why it made you frustrated with why they did it. And I think just like, if it happens again, then let's discuss it then, and then we can talk about a punishment. But the grounding thing, I can assure you, all my friends used to get grounded, and as soon as their quote punishment or grounding ended, they would go, the second they were ungrounded, they would go straight to the party, and they would go straight to doing double the amount that they were doing before. So I can assure you, grounding, please just stop. It really, really, I've never seen it work on anyone.
I would say be vulnerable with your children. Cry in front of them. Be sad in front of them. Be happy in front, like emote in front of them in a real authentic way, like how you would with your own friends and people your age. I think that's like, you're just showing them that you're human. Like, that's what they're trying to be too.
I would definitely say just be there for your kid. Like, be their backup. Always let them know that you have their back and you're going to be there to help them whenever they need it, no matter what.
I think another thing that we talked about earlier is make sure that when you are with your kid and you're listening to your kid, you make it very, very clear that what they say to you will go nowhere. And that means not to your fiance, not to your spouse, not to your friend, not to your dog, literally anyone. It is just between you two, because I can assure you it feels so invalidating to tell a parent something and then either, like, even say I tell my mom something and then the next day my dad comes to me and asks if I'm okay about that. Like, that doesn't feel good, because I felt like I was in a trust circle with her and I just wanted her to know that. And so I really think that making sure your kid knows that it's just going to stay between you two, and then it actually does, and then you don't go on your walk with all your girlfriends the next day and explain your kid's biggest issue, is seriously, like, crucial.
I'm not gonna butt that. Yeah, just have your kids back. Like, same umbrella. Trust. If you give your kids your trust, like, I think just trust. Like, trust them. Give them more. Let out the leash a little bit and trust that, like, yeah, they might fall, but they're still on the damn leash. Like, yank them back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, trust them. Be vulnerable with them. Go to them. Go take interest in what they're interested in. Don't ground them. Have conversations with them. Be honest with them. Like, all we're saying is just be a human being to them. Like, you're no different now that you're a parent. I mean, obviously, yes, you are different. You have a lot more responsibilities, but you still are made of the same chemicals and feel the same emotions. Like, why would you turn that off? They want to see that too. That's the most important thing you can do, is just be a human, be you.
We have to listen back. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Guys, wait, so
Thank you. Are we going to do the I love you? No. Goodbye. Okay, we're going to huddle, everybody. We do a family huddle. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.